Week 1 is in the books. The mighty Denver Broncos moved to 1-0 after defeating Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. But how did it happen? Well, the defense was immense. Which rhymes. The offense, not so much. Bo Nix struggled. Too many turnovers, 4 turnovers in total. Plus, giving it up and downs a couple of times, which is not great. However, in the fourth quarter, the running game came good. RJ Harvey looked great for this defense. Cannot stress how wonderful it was. We're going to be taking a deep dive in this, which is an uneducated review of the Denver Broncos and the Tennessee Titans, here on the WINFL show. Down here somewhere. Cam Ward opened his career by saying to himself, "Hey, I wonder what would happen if I threw it out to a running back in the flat in 3rd and long." And wouldn't you know it, they picked up a first down. Cam Ward then said to himself, "Hey, I wonder what would happen if I handed it off to my running back in 3rd and long." This one didn't quite work, but that's okay because they were within field goal range. Joey Sly managed to knock it between the uprights to give the Titans an early 3-0 lead. The Broncos responded with a field goal from Will Lutz. Now there's a guy who can't take L's. Even though he's only got one in his name, he probably should take an L. Probably more than anybody. Following a punt on the Titans' next possession, Bo Nix decided to roll out to the left and fire a deep ball to Cortland Sutton, but Roger McCready made a great play on the ball to pick it off. In the second quarter, Tony Pollard rushed up the middle, but he was hit by Talona Hamfanga, and the ball came out and Brandon Jones scooped it, and the Broncos managed to get the ball back. Following an exchange of punts, Bo Nix then held onto the ball far too long on a 2nd and 9, and Jeffrey Simmons was able to strip the ball away, giving the Titans the ball once again in great field position in Denver territory. Despite driving the ball all the way down to the Broncos' 4-yard line, Cam Ward got sacked on 3rd and goal by Nick Bonito, which brought up a second field goal for Joey Sly, bringing the score to 6-3 Tennessee. Following another Broncos punt, Brian Callahan thought it would be a great idea for Cam Ward to throw it 3 times from within his own 5-yard line with 45 seconds to go in the first half. Not sure what he was thinking there. Anyway, he was sacked on the 3rd down, and that brought up Johnny Hekker with his punt, which Marvin Mims was able to take back to the 38-yard line of the Titans. And 2 plays later, Bo Nix found Cortland Sutton with an absolute dime for a 22-yard score to put the Broncos up 10-6 with just 16 seconds to go in the half. On the ensuing kickoff, however, rather than just blasting it out the back of the end zone, which, why wouldn't you do that with 16 seconds to go, the Broncos thought they'd be cute. Did a short kick, and it was returned all the way deep into Broncos territory to set up the Titans for a last-second field goal in the first half. That made the score 10-9 to Denver at halftime. On the first drive of the second half, Bo Nix thought, "Do you know what, this game might be too easy, so I think I'll just give it to the other team." So he pitched wild one out to Xavier Woods, double coverage. I don't know what Nix was even thinking with that pass. And then Woods was able to take it back to give the Titans great field position again, this time inside the Broncos' 30-yard line. The Titans were unable to capitalise though, so they had to settle for yet another Joey Sly field goal, this time from 35 yards out, to put the Titans up 12-10. Despite driving deep into Titans territory on the next possession, the Broncos were unable to convert in a 3rd and 2, so they had to settle for another Will Lutz field goal to take the lead back, making it 13-12. On the Titans' next possession, the Denver defense stood firm on 3rd and 9. Despite a missed tackle and a player slipping, they were able to stuff Calvin Ridley before he could make the first down, forcing a punt from the Titans. However, on the ensuing punt, Johnny Hekker blasted it deep for Marvin Mims, who backed up all the way to his own 20-yard line before muffing it, and the ball was recovered by Tennessee, giving them yet another turnover in Denver territory, this time on the 25-yard line. On 2nd and 8 from the 23, Cam Ward dropped back, but the Denver pass rush was simply too strong and Jonah Ellis dropped Ward all the way back to the 39-yard line. This brought up 3rd down. And on the very next play, on 3rd and 24, Cam Ward went back again, and this time he got tackled all the way at midfield by All-Pro Zach Allen. Look how happy he is. On the Broncos' next possession, rookie running back RJ Harvey ripped off a 50-yard run to set the Broncos up deep within Titans territory. And on 1st and 10 from the 19, the ball was handed off to J.K. Dobbins, who broke 2 tackles before stiff-arming a player and going in to give the Denver Broncos a 20-12 lead over the Tennessee Titans. Following on yet another Titans punt, the Denver Broncos went for it in 4th and 1 just inside their own half, and they were stuffed by a huge play by the Tennessee defense. But even with that great position on 3rd and 10, Cam Ward aimed for Calvin Ridley, but put way too much stank on it. Ridley wasn't able to pull in the pass, and the Titans had to punt. The Denver Broncos then found themselves with 4th and 8 from the 36-yard line, but Bo Nix was unable to find Marvin Mims. Not sure why they threw that pass instead of punting. Anyway, Cam Ward then let rip another howitzer towards Calvin Ridley, but he couldn't keep on to this one, and this is not the same play. This is a different play, the next play. And he just couldn't get it past again. Far too much stank on these passes. On 4th down, he got sacked by Jaquan McMillan, and then defensive rookie Jahdae Barron scooped up the ball, ensuring the win for the Broncos. So there you have it. The Broncos beat the Titans 20-12. 6 sacks for the Broncos defense against Cam Ward. He could do nothing against this mighty defensive performance. I'm kind of worried about some of the decisions that Sean Payton made. And some of the play by Bo Nix, I'm not overly concerned, but attempting the pass to Marvin Mims on 4th and 8 instead of punting it was a little bit suspect. Going to the defense though, Patrick Surtain, he was targeted once and he broke it up. He was lined up against Calvin Ridley almost the entire game. I believe it was 24 out of 34 snaps he was lined up against Calvin Ridley, and Ridley did nothing against him. As I say, one pass against Surtain, one incompletion. Bo Nix, the first interception was just a great defensive play. The second one, that was into double coverage. It was not a great pass by Bo Nix. As for Cam Ward, we look at the Titans. There's a lot to like about this kid. He's mobile. He's got an arm like a cannon. My goodness, this guy can throw it, but he puts way too much mustard on these passes. There was like 3 or 4 of those seam routes that he threw in that second half. They looked like carbon copies. You saw the ones with Calvin Ridley, at least 2 to him, and I forget number 85. What's the other one? He just put way too much on those passes. Don't get me wrong, Calvin Ridley should have had at least one of them, and he did have another bad drop in this game. Broncos made life difficult for themselves. They should have won this game a lot easier than they did. 4 turnovers and 2 turnovers and downs. So 6 turnovers essentially. The Titans had great field position. They were in Broncos territory with all of those turnovers, but the defense stood strong. Stood really strong. The pass rush was great. Vance Joseph did a great job. I'm not worried about the Broncos going forward, but they need to clean some stuff up. But it was week 1, and an ugly week 1 win is still a week 1 win, and you're in a better position than you were this time last year. That's the way the Broncos fans need to look at it. That's the way the players need to look at it. And they will look at it. It's, you're better than you were last year. Got a big test coming up this week, so we're going to have a look at that one and see what happens. This has been the WINFL show. Thanks very much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe.